Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chaotic Neutral Games. I'm your Dungeon Master, Simon Cantor, and I'm here with Rodrigo, Felicia, Corinne, Kate, and Nick for our D&D 5th edition campaign, The Benefactor. We've got a few announcements first. So, first of all, I'll bring up the guys on their sound and say hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
20 episodes! Oh my god!
Yep.
Oh my god!
Episode
It was
20. That's the
episodes.
first one. Yep, it's
I
flown
didn't
by.
realize until now.
20 episodes and what, 3 days, I think, in game? Something like that?
It's
Yeah,
actually like a
yeah.
week because we had a time skip.
Oh, we did have a time skip, but that's kind of cheating. So three experienced days, I guess. But that's
Yeah.
that's D&D for you. So the first announcement is, well, we don't do this for money. If people wanted to donate, we put a link in below in Twitch, but we don't expect it. We're just having a game around this virtual table and inviting people in and having some fun. But we have had the opportunity to signal boost some fantastic people. We've got Rattlecat, who's done some of the character art that you'll see here on the stream. We've got our own lovely Felicia, who has also done some of the art. We've got Feline Trickster, who has done some of the art as well. And when my account gets slightly better, I'll be able to get some of the other artists that I've mostly met through Comic-Con to do some of the other art. I've got one person working on something already. But one of the things that has been fantastic about sharing all this is being able to just be part of the community in a way that we were never able to do around a physical table. So I'm going to add to that now by signal boosting some friends of mine that I met through the UK Critter Crowd. They're a critter company, and if I just bring up the logo, Geeky Clean. So we're not sponsored by them. This isn't a paid ad or anything like that. But I know James and Steph, who are Geeky Clean, and they make some amazing bath products. I've actually got some on the way to me now. But unfortunately, they haven't arrived in time for the stream. So next week, I'll show you some of the goodies, which means I can't open it. I've kind of put a rod for my own back. But whilst talking to James, he was saying, oh, well, I'll get you a discount code. And I was like, well, I don't really have that many viewers. And I just realized it doesn't matter how many viewers I've got. It'd be great to just have Geeky Clean on here. So we've got them springboarded on here, and we've got Chaotic, so all lowercase. Chaotic, if you go to www.geekyclean.com, you'll get 10% off whatever your order is if you put in the word Chaotic. So we have our first discount code, guys. Fantastic.
Should we stick that into chat?
I just did.
Our first shield.
Yeah, if one of you guys
Our
could
first
type in,
shield.
I highly
I'm
recommend their
tearing up.
soaps.
Well,
They're really nice.
they're really nice. Corinne has tried them. I've tried them. I think Nick, you bought some while you were there as well.
I got the monk one, and I keep buying it because I keep going through it too quickly, and it is amazing. It's really, really good.
So all the soaps, well, the soaps are named after many things, but there's a soap for each D&D main D&D class, and Monk is amazing. I've actually got Monk on the way. But I've gone through Paladin, and I've also bathed in the blood of my enemies, which is a beautiful red soap that smells of cherry and has got a load of glitter in it as well. So, as I say, gives you guys a chance to try those out and try them out a little bit cheaper. I've only looked at the UK stuff at the moment. I don't know what the shipping's like into Europe and Scandinavia, and I think, Rodrigo, you might be a little too far away. But I don't know.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
But maybe you can buy some here
I'm
and
gonna
kind of send you over a
check it
care
right
package
now.
or something. So, yeah, there we go. So if you use the word chaotic at checkout, you'll be able to get 10% off. So thank you very much, James and Steph. I think you're busy at the moment, but I think you're going to be coming and looking at this this broadcast when we put it onto YouTube, which brings me neatly to my second announcement. So the last episode had some audio issues. If you look at it on Twitch, you'll see what I'm on about. It cuts out periodically, I think, some sort of boarding issue, but I do have the recording that I use here. So I'm going to upload that into YouTube because I had a look at the audio on that, and the audio was better, so I cleaned it up a little bit more, and I'll put it onto YouTube. But I've only just finished doing that, so I'll give it one final check through tomorrow, and episode 19 will be up on YouTube, and as long as this recording's good, I'll have that up probably before episode 19. So there we go. Other than that, hello everybody. I don't know how many people are on chat. I will check when these guys get started. Let's get started.
Currently, it just looks like Rattles, but at least we got one person watching.
Die-hard crowd.
Rattles.
Die-hard crowd. Okay.
That's all right. It's
So
on YouTube again, remember?
two of you are at the Hawk and Harness Tavern, upstairs with a pair of academics looking at a portrait that is in Eclipse's room, which shows a painting of a tomb with a certain amount of feline motif to it. A giant lion's head, roaring, made out of stone, and set otherwise into a cliff face, a natural cliff face, surrounded by what appears to be jungle, or at least very dense woodland. This picture has drawn the attention of Garrett and Jacob. Garrett being a historian, Jacob being an archaeologist. That's the word, archaeologist. I'll get there. And they're incredibly excited as they flipped the painting over and found that this painting was originally in the Imperial Palace of Vardencourt itself. Okay, the Imperial nobility here being quite corrupt, but also incredibly adventurous, always trying to prove themselves, always trying to one-up themselves. As a result, they've achieved some things that the nobility in other countries haven't quite done, even if sometimes that means going and tomb raiding and things. So this was of interest at some point to a previous emperor. There's Empress Celine on the throne at the moment. So you're in possession, Eclipse, of a very genuine artifact and kind of Da Vinci Code style encryption in the art as well, that if correctly decoded and applied to a map, should be able to lead you to a location, maybe even the tomb itself, maybe just another step on the road to solving this mystery. A little expedition that you guys can use to get out of the city, maybe, and have a change of scenery.
Wink, wink, nudge,
While
nudge.
this is going on with the decryption, like when they're talking about it, I turn to Aiden and just go, so are you any good at codes?
Probably not.
You didn't do like a bunch of like puzzles and stuff when you were hunting whatever you were hunting, ghouls?
No, not really.
Okay.
No.
I have a feeling that Eclipse feels like being a blood hunter is like, where on earth is Carmen Santiago?
Diego, yeah.
Well, there could have been secret handshakes and other sorts of
like
complex rituals.
Plumbing.
Yeah,
Does
who knows? I
plumbing
mean,
count as puzzles?
Aiden could have a background in mathematician. You'd never know. So, yeah.
exactly.
Elsewhere in the city, the I think remaining three of you, I'm trying to think if anybody else has gone along. Only Eowyn. We should never forget about Eowyn. But so technically four of you are on the promenade and about to go into the Green Lockup. It's a warehouse that, if you remember the description from episodes 2 and 3, it's a windowless, completely stone from floor to ceiling warehouse that has been reinforced, although it does have one floor, and that is an alternative entrance that you can get to through the sewers, which you exploited last time. And you've been told that the body of one of these rats will be taken there for you to inspect. You're on your way there, and you've started to enjoy the market on the way, I believe that Glory has got a color shifting shawl now, quite a large
Scarf.
shawl. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a large triangular shawl scarf. Yeah, which you can tie in any number of ways, and it will change color to your will. I said command last session when I was going over the notes the other day. It's actually, you can just will it. So as a bonus action, as you will it, this will turn into any color or pattern or whatever that you choose. Okay. And I think we left off at farewell, asking about a charm that would be able to provide some form of shielding.
No, Glory bought that for farewell.
Yes.
And got it pinned to his robes.
Yes. I paid for it.
Good, you bought it for him.
You did indeed. Yeah. Just checking through my notes now. I thought we were still talking about that. So you guys are actually ready to go to where you're going, and I will say, if you wish, being that we don't quite know how the timelines match up, if you want to contact Aiden and Eclipse now, they should be able to catch up with you guys, and you couldn't all be in the same place. Just give me one moment. I just realised that my my caffeinated drink is just over there, and I need to take my headphones off. Be right back.
Okay, we have a few seconds where the DM is not available. It's time for anarchy.
Run! Usurp his power! Usurp him!
We set fire to the entire city.
We just go on a murder spree. Just everybody. Just everyone.
Yeah, Simon. While you ran for your coffee, the Ostergold is now in flames.
Coffee, my sweet summer child. I don't have coffee.
I know.
It's been that kind of.
Terrible.
It's been that kind of week.
Yeah, I just ran out of mine, so we are all dying.
I thought we were the only people who were allowed to criticize them, like what they consume during streams was Kate, because it's usually snacks or pizza. Let alone now we're gonna have to start picking on more.
I can really go for pizza right
You
now.
want Monster to sponsor you? Yeah, I have no snacks right now.
I kind of want to just start drinking Red Bull just to add to the pile.
Ooh, Red Bull's harsh.
But yes, do you guys call us so we can meet up?
We do indeed.
Okay.
Okay.
Farewell
all right.
will call you and mention that we're going to that. He will also turn to Cora though and go. Do you think we should get the shards or just leave it? And he's sort of like leaning forward. Doesn't do subtlety or deception particularly well, but you know, sort of. Well, she's a lot smaller than him.
Shards?
Yeah, the red thing.
Oh, they're like okay. I mean, kinda.
I've just
Should
got
we
this-
do that with these though? And I hold up the green symbol. Like
Well,
she can track us anywhere and appear instantly.
I don't
Well,
think she.
yeah,
gets
but
the
if
symbols.
Eowyn gets it, she should be okay because she can't follow Eowyn.
No, but you're talking about bringing it here, aren't you?
Well, to the warehouse, yeah, but I mean, I'm not very good with arcane stuff. Good with people, insides, not so much people. And the divine, arcane enchanting stuff, is more Glory's kind of, area.
Sure. I can ask Owen to go get it. Are we heading to the warehouse now? We're not going back for the others?
I asked them to meet us there.
Oh, okay. Sure, okay. And I'll telepathically ask Owen if she can go and find that bit of speck of red dust that she hid previously and bring it back to the warehouse where we originally found it.
Sure, I'll go get it now. And she flits off. I'm going to say, because she can fly, and she can fly quite quickly, She'll get back roughly the same time as Eclipse and Iden say their goodbyes and head on to you guys. In the meantime, Glory.
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 Okay.
I want you to, if I remember correctly from last session, you were also looking for materials for clothing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just do a quick check for you, which will have the following results. You can source some cloth for a social event, and it will give you advantage. This is a kind of preparation roll. It'll give you advantage to a social roll that you want to make during that social event. So you can either dress to impress, dress to intimidate, dress to whatever. But you have to choose it. So I would like you to do a charisma. Well, first of all, give me a charisma check with proficiency. So that should be the equivalent of one of your social skills that you're proficient in.
Yeah. That's a 17 plus 6.
Okay, that's good. And now just give me a straight perception roll. I want you to score above a 10.
13.
13. In that case, yeah, whilst they're contacting Iden and Eclipse and filling them in and saying, come on down and all the rest of it, you're just kind of thumbing your way through the various stalls and you're pulling, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It'll cost you 3 gold, but you would be able to make an outfit that would be adaptable for purpose. Whether you're making something formal,
Yes.
something revealing, something intimidating.
I'm buying it. It'll be perfect.
Okay, cool. So note down that you have advantage to one social roll,
event.
but if you write dress next to it, you have to prepare for it by saying, I'm getting dressed for this occasion.
Yeah.
Okay, good. A few minutes later, Iden and Eclipse arrive. Halfway through, you guys catching them up on the various bits that you've done, and they fill you in on Garrett and his great excitement for this artwork. Eowyn comes back and whispers into your ear, Cora, I'm here. I'm just behind you. It feels weird.
Go find a little corner of the warehouse and just stick it there so you don't have to hold it. And are we in the warehouse right this second?
You're currently in the street. You're still on the promenade, but you can go up there. You've got the key to it.
I'm gonna head to the warehouse then. Actually,
Okay.
I'm gonna head there and sort of say, "Follow me," and I'll go and open it up and find a place where she can sort of stick it. Is it I'm imagining a piece of glitter that small. Is it like that, or is it bigger? Like, is it going to get completely lost if I don't keep a good eye on it?
If you think she's got little Tinkerbell pouch, so like a gold pouch but Tinkerbell sized, and when you ask her, she says that there's about 7 grains in there. So it's 7 grains of red sand that glows very slightly.
Are there still, when we go into the warehouse, is there anything in there at all? Any sort of crates or chairs and tables or anything? Can't remember what was there last time. It might still be there.
So when you went in there was a desk with a chair, and this is a kind of shipping clerk's desk. Then there was a round table with 4 chairs. There was old and I think probably useless by now crates, which could also be used as seats, I guess. It's just that you don't think that you'd want to keep any heavy wares in them. They don't look waterproof.
Didn't we set some on fire and then drown them?
You did, yeah. They've dried out since. And that's all that you remember being in there. But the second you open the doors, that's not what you see. The second you open the doors, you see a second set of doors and the smell of freshly sawn wood.
Right.
That wasn't there last time.
No. Do we have the key for this door as well?
There appears to be no keyhole. They're just regular push doors. privacy doors, sash doors. And
I
I will
knock.
push.
There's
Oh,
also,
knock and I push.
I just pushed
There's
it
a little
over.
image of like her going to push straight the way through, and then just this green hand reach over the top of her and just go.
sure. You hear someone say, "Oh, that must be them. We're in here. Everything's all in order. Feel free to hang up your stuff on the kotuks. We put them up this morning." And you have a look around, and there are indeed some kotuks, and there's a little set of brushes to brush the dirt off your shoes.
Are we in a little porch area almost?
It's a little porch area.
You know, like yeah, coat. Yeah, okay.
I'm like,
And then you hear
alright, I take off my hood and put it on there and be like,
then you hear a familiar voice say, "Do close the outer doors behind you. We don't want anybody looking in." And it's Olivia's voice.
ooh.
I tell Eowyn to stay invisible, of course, and to is there like beams, rafters, and stuff in this place that she can maybe fly up to?
Yeah, substantial ones. They're holding up a nailed down stone roof. They're very small.
I will tell her to head up there and hide the pouch up there out of the way, and just to stay watching.
How do they know? They always seem to know. I mean, do I
Well,
just
didn't
make
she
terrible
say that she was
decisions?
gonna touch it up for us?
Yeah.
I guess.
I look at Farewell, and I show him the green symbol and be like, we basically have tracking devices.
Oh.
I don't think she
What
needs those
now?
to see where we are, though. But
No, more than likely not.
When you open the doors, you see in front of you a completely changed building. The internal walls, which you remember before, were pretty much the same as the outside walls, cemented. So if you imagine a dry wall, and then it's just been cemented in, so large stone blocks that have been cemented. That's what it was on the inside and the outside, and it was cemented completely flat so that somebody couldn't climb up it because they think of everything. Now on the inside is whitewashed lime walls. So on top of the stone and the completely smooth cement, effectively, there's now a plaster layer that goes all the way around so that the walls are a perfect slick sheen. The floor, which before was a mixture of relatively okay, quite substantial floorboards, and then some that were in disrepair, is now completely good floorboards. So nice, strong, thick floorboards. It's meant to take cargo, after all. And it's been waxed and shined to within an inch of its life. Your feet squeak on the floor. In the middle of this chamber is a large stone table on which is one of the rat corpses. And you notice that the clerk's desk is still there, but now has some form of curtain that can be taken around to make a makeshift office. The round table with the 4 chairs are still there, off to one side, and there's 2 male workers, just one dwarf, one human. They've both got green badges at their belts, and you notice that now that you've seen quite a lot of the members of the Green Organization, they've got the same green badges that you have, so they've got the kind of stronger ones. And standing there looking with a pensive look on her face, looking down at the rat corpse, is Olivia. There's also a bucket next to her feet, but we'll get to that in a second. She turns around, and there's also a number of cases and fresh crates and a chest next to her as well. She turns around and she says, "Farewell, you brought Iden with you." And she kind of looks a little relieved and slightly eager at the sight of Iden. And she goes, I thought it was just going to be a few of you. I was told there were some people back at the tavern. So, and she starts to formalize to the woman that you met those many, like 4 or 5
I
days
side
ago.
eye Aiden.
So like, do I? If I notice that, I just go like, dude, I don't know.
Glory gives you the thumbs up from the side, like, get her.
Oh God, finger guns from Glory.
Yeah.
How much points of psychic damage do I take from that?
You take 4 points according to my D4.
Okay.
That's a lot of psychic damage from Glory.
The formal Olivia
Big.
turns round now to Farewell and says, "Farewell, in gratitude for aiding us as you have, and also because your curiosity and scientific exploration of this subject, I've been granted a certain number of funds to make this place a little more suitable for your needs. Also, I have some tools and equipment that might be of use to you." She goes up to the chest, flips the lid, and inside there's a glitter of glass. She waves her hand over and some vials start floating out. You can see from here there's vials, there's glass slides, there's paper, there's a full scribe set, and you think for more than one person. And also you can see the case that she opens, the case within the chest itself that she opens. There's a number of magnifying lenses and some apparatus to set them up, either in series or to put them in different positions so that you can look at things closer.
Simon, when we go in here, I will put on my apron.
Sure. I mean, you just look like you're getting down to business, so yeah, you start putting the apron on, and it looks perfectly natural.
Yeah.
Okay. You feel, as you put it on, you feel a leaning towards masonry, carpentry, alchemy, poisoning, lockpicking, tinkering, and enchantment. But the enchantment you can't do because it does. Oh, actually, no, you're an arcanist. So yeah,
I am.
Yeah, you feel like you don't feel it's like a high level, a high proficiency in enchantment. But when you put on that apron, you do feel like you could choose from any of these to be good at all of a sudden.
Can I switch between them freely, or is it when people are in the vicinity, or do I pick one and stick with that?
You have to pick one and stick with it. So you don't have to choose now, though. You can, when you choose, it locks in, but you don't have to choose right now. Yeah.
I will choose when I need to.
Okay. So, I hope this is okay, Farewell, and that you didn't have other things in mind.
No. Thank you. This is far more generous than I could have expected. Thank you.
Not a problem. The crates over there contain leather body bags, waxed, of course. They have there's some milk urns that have waste written on the side of them as well, for the goo, you understand. And she points to little channels that have been etched into the table. It's basically a coroner's table. And there's, let's see, what else have we got here? We've got rope, should you need it. And she starts opening some of the chests, some of the crates to show you. And it's a load of practical containers and so forth that you might need. She also points out that some of the crates are empty. She opens up one of the crates, and the crate has been lined with waxed cloth and leather, so that you can put something in there and transport it through the city, and, well, frankly, blood won't drip out the bottom of it. The fact that she had this to hand is a little scary, but yeah.
It's quite practical. Okay, so first things first, where can I scrub up?
Of course, just over this way. She takes you over to the small desk, opens what seems to be a narrow, long drawer. This is a very old English type desk, and there's a series of wands. She pulls out one of the wands and says, "It's okay. Anybody can use it. Just point it at your hands and will it to do its function."
Oh, okay. So I do it.
Yeah, purple sparks just kind of ripple over your hands, and your hand suddenly feels very clean and very bare. You know, after you've washed with a particularly powerful soap, and you kind of feel that your hands squeak together. It's that kind of feeling, and you fire it
Do
at
they
one
have
hand, and then
any
there's another.
gloves in case? Do they have any gloves in case the clips want to get in there? Because fur.
Maybe not. Right, this one. Let me poke around in this. And what I do
I
is
think
I'll
Ida wants to say something as well.
sorry, Rodrigo, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask to Simon. Can we see where the rats or the corpses of the rats are?
Yep. So the corpse of the rat is on the table, and Olivia does point to a couple of piles of what seems to be material, but as you look closer now, they are actually gloves that seem to be made of a thin chamois leather, but seem to have had some sort of pitch coating put on them that's then dried. It's the very, very cumbersome version of a examination glove, and she says, "I've been using those." So what you have here, when we went to reclaim the rat corpses, many of the rat corpses had completely disintegrated into this ooze. Some of them had been disrupted and kind of bowed and melted, and she kind of picks up, using just a rod, like a small metal rod. She picks up what's supposed to be a straight length of rat leg, and you notice it wobbles about as if it's just come out of a jelly mold. And she says, they've denatured but haven't completely fallen apart. That's one of the curiosities that we have at the moment as to why did these stay roughly in their shape and these completely turn into, well, goo. And she picks up the bucket and shows you that you've got one goo corpse in a bucket and you've got one non-goo corpse on the slab.
Is the goo corpse still like bits in it, or is it completely goo?
What you can see at the moment is a completely flat meniscus top to it, so it doesn't seem like there's any lumps in it from where you can currently see.
I will use my mage hand and just stir it around and see if there's anything in there.
Okay. Yeah, your mage hand goes in, starts stirring it up, prompting Olivia to immediately put it down. And, ooh, yeah, you can feel some resistance. There's some lumps in there.
Yay!
Lovely bits.
Glory will go and pick a pair of gloves because that's gonna be needed if they're gonna examine these.
Absolutely.
While Eclipse is doing that, I'm gonna roll up my sleeves and I'm gonna start examining the one on the table.
Sure. Farewell is already there and going to get his hands in, but this is great. You guys are all kind of taking a look. I mean, this is some weird stuff. This should not be happening in the city. So you head up as well, Aiden, to give your experience from your angle as well. As you go up to put the gloves on, Olivia kind of...
Oh, I'm not going with gloves.
Okay. Well, as you go up to the table then, Olivia kind of ambles in your direction. She doesn't pointedly walk in your direction, but she just... Suddenly you just find that she's near you, and as she passes, she goes, "How are you feeling, Aiden? Feeling okay? No.
Shit, like always. I'm more concentrated on the rat, honestly.
Oh yeah.
But behind Olivia's back, you just see Glory giving the biggest thumbs up to Aiden. Like,
I am sandbagging you super hard, Glory. You have no idea.
her reaction to your
Eclipse is this, and she'll because like okay, there are bits in there, so she'll walk up to the others, and she'll use liberal use of mage hand, like just turning things and stuff, so she doesn't actually have to touch stuff, but she will like purposely stand close to Aiden and to be like here to hear what Olivia is saying.
Mage hand is perfect for this kind of thing, digging around in cadavers and things. So the reaction to you, Rodrigo, when you say, crap as always, she kind of purses her lips in what seems to be a disapproving way, but I will allow the two people who apparently cannot leave this alone, Glory and Eclipse, to make insight checks. But she purses her lips at you and she goes, "Well, as long as it's the regular kind of discomfort."
Is my passive perception picking everything up? Because whilst I will freely admit what's in front of the table is being more sort of interesting to me, I'm not used to someone other than myself paying this much attention to Aiden. So that will at least cause me to cock an eyebrow.
Fancy.
You be nice to my boy.
I'm going to call character flaw on you, Nick, and say that the rat is too interesting. Yes, you do notice that Olivia is going up and sharing a couple of words very quickly with Aiden in hushed tones, but I'm going to call character flaw and say that the rat is too interesting, and I'm going to get you to auto-fail, which has actually blown some karma the right way, being that I gave you some advantage in a previous episode. So there we go.
I got a 4, so I
completely
do decide what I believe.
Completely oblivious. Yeah, as far as you're concerned, she's just being the usual bitchy busybody that she always is. You see her purse her lips at him, and you're like, "Leave the guy alone."
12.
Glory. Kind of the same thing. You're winding him up, and you're noticing that the fact that she's showing any interest in Aiden when Aiden doesn't really stick his head up above the crowd is significant. But for all you know, this could just be the usual testing people, harassment that you've come to expect from this organization. So, yeah, you're pretty much neutral. That's not to say that you're not going to continue to have an interest. It's just you're not getting anything right now. And so back to Aiden. And yeah, she says, as long as it's the regular kind of discomfort. And she says it very pointedly.
Yeah, I'm sure.
She looks you up and down and then goes, anyway, so this rat farewell, Aiden, just over here, we're going to open it up from this side if it's okay.
Step back. First of all, none of you are prepared to even touch this, and I point at Aiden, especially you. I'm not sure how your weirdness will. No, that's mean. I'm not sure how you will react to that with the control that you have. I suggest, as I can cleanse myself quite easily, I do the cutting. You observe. And that goes
if
for
you want me
everyone.
I'm already like turning. Like well, before Farewell was saying that, I was already like turning the rat around, looking at, poking it at certain points, to see what's going on.
Hand.
So
just stop touching.
What the fuck is your damage?
If you want me to Farewell, I can cut it up without anyone of us having to touch it.
No, it's fine. Funnily enough, cutting up dead things is something I've got a little bit of experience in.
I think we all have something to bring to the table. She puts her fingertips on the table as she says so, and she says, I'm here strictly only to observe. You've met Renata, you've seen the place that she spends most of her life, her library, her study. She's interested in field data. As far as I'm concerned, you do what you guys do, arrange how you do it. I will observe just enough and I will report back on what your theories are, and I will also, as part of quid pro quo, feedback on any of the theories if we happen to notice anything through a literature search of anything that might contradict. I think you're correct, Farewell, that you're the person ideally suited to head this up. But I would say don't underestimate Master. And she's about to say Aiden's surname and says, do not underestimate Aiden's stake in this.
Yeah, we're not allowed to say his surname, remember?
So just let him
Repeat
use his
it.
instincts. His background, I think, will probably serve you well.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't saying he can't help. I just don't want him touching it in case it leaks on him. I mean, it bit him
Probably a
last
very-
time and it almost killed him.
Probably
Leaking
a
on
very
him would be-
prudent suggestion, being that I have a theory. I believe that the body, and she points at the bucket, the body that has discorporated is completely dead. It's completely inert. I have suspicions that this body might not be fully inert. And with that,
I have my rapier out.
Actually,
she puts her hands
because-
up and backs away, as if to say, it's all yours.
Sorry, Glory, what were you saying there?
no, I was saying it makes sense that it wouldn't be totally dead. Because if it was, then it would destabilize just like the other one. So, if Miss Storm's theory is correct, then this one, well, the goo might still be alive while the rat isn't.
That is a terrible, terrible thing. Okay,
Oh,
who wants to carry the
obviously.
mace to like smack it whilst I cut it open?
I have my rapier out and just go.
Perfect. Okay. If it I'm not joking. If it genuinely moves, kill it, because we don't want this biting us. And so I will reach into my pouch and I will pull out my my medical kit. I'll slap it down
And
on the
I pull
side.
out a bottle of wine.
Essential equipment.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, but farewell. I was thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
What's your theory on how intelligent life forms it can take over? Because we noticed that the fish turned into pretty much just a big pile of goo because they were too stupid. The rats worked. What if it can take over something even more intelligent?
Are you suggesting that you're a goo person?
No. But I'm just saying,
Or are you suggesting that they're goo people because they got bitten?
maybe.
We are what's it called? We are leftover. So this is like the better version of intellect devours. So we're being controlled
Yeah.
by mind flyers.
Sorry, I know. I'm being flippant.
It's
At the-
hilarious. I like it.
Oh, thank you.
When,
I think-
when Farewell says, "Are you suggesting they're goo people because they got bitten?" I just cheers. I'll drink to that.
I ask for some wine from Aiden.
Sure, sure.
Professional
You know-
outfit. Exactly what I'd like to see.
This is a lot easier when you're just on your own. I mean, the other priests, they just at least they would. Never mind. Okay. To answer your question, I actually think you're right. I think the more complex to a degree the slimes are attracted to, I don't think it's quite at the people bit.
Oh no, I'm not saying these slimes are. I'm just saying if they're excess from something stronger, then what if that can?
Weren't these similar constructs to those things that we fought in the tower
No.
that we're not supposed to talk about?
not
Isn't it
really.
the same process?
No,
No?
it's way too different. Those were intentionally made as they were. These ones, not so much.
Yeah, these are like failed, aren't they? Failed experiments.
Yeah, very much fail.
Felicia, take
Um,
a point of inspiration.
Woo!
Hell
Yeah!
Remembering information.
Okay. Well, as Grandpa used to say, things are always learned better by doing. So let's go, and I'll take the scalpel and let's open this sucker up.
Okay. Where are you making your first cut?
Uh,
Do we need to know
let's-
the correct way to dissect rat for D&D?
Isn't the rat just gonna turn into goo? Because last time when we fought them, they just went bleh. Like as soon as you cut it, isn't it gonna pop like a balloon?
That's what I'm thinking.
Hopefully not.
But I'm not sure if that was because, I kind of mashed a couple.
True. Yeah. Ditto.
Wish and flick.
I thought they weren't really rats anymore. It was just goo taking on the shape of a rat, but I don't know. Anyway, I'll stand back. You carry on. I'll be ready to blast it.
Okay. Where are you cutting? Dr. Farewell.
Oldie but a goodie. Let's see if we can just butterfly this sucker. Let's go straight down the middle.
Sure. Pretty strong. You start cutting, and indeed, once you get past what seems to be a kind of dried skin, like the skin on custard, except this is kind of metamorphic custard skin that looks exactly like a rat. Once you start cutting into it, it starts to take on that lilac, oozy appearance. I mean, there's some ooze coming out of the ears and the nostrils of this particular one. You notice the head is a little mal-shaped. I think this is one that you yourself killed, Farewell, with a mace to the head. And as you cut, there's a certain amount of oozing from the cut. Think kind of melted cheese type of oozing. It's not kind of dribbling down the sides, but it's coming out as one big unctuous mass.
So grim.
And you go for the proper butterfly move. So once you've cut and you notice that there's a certain amount of extra resistance where the ribcage should be, but not solid resistance, just more dense. Yeah. And you pass all the way down, and once you get to the stomach, oh, that's just lovely. It just glides through there. Okay, maybe not lovely. Lovely is probably not the word. And you grab hold of the front leg and as it's laying outside, the upper front leg and the upper back leg, push it over, and it opens up like a baked camembert, except disgusting and lilac coloured.
Oozy.
You now ruined Camembert forever.
You can see that there are striations within the goo, and the striations are roughly where you'd expect a skeleton to be. So a slight darkened spots where there's supposed to be ribs, things of that nature. So there seems to be an attempt to copy the structure.
So I can safely say that is not what that's supposed to look like.
Those dark spots, are they more solid than the rest of the goo?
Well, hold on, and I'll get an instrument, a pokey instrument, which is its technical name, and I shall use the pokey instrument to check the toughness of the areas.
Tougher, more dense, moves almost independently of it. The dark bits do stick to the light bits, but they do move slightly independently to it. Yes, Rodrigo.
If you're saying anything, dude, we can't hear you.
I think it's...
Yeah, your mic might be off.
Yeah, I sometimes forget when I have it muted and when I haven't. I don't have it. I was saying, have I seen something like this before while working the family business?
It's more of a luck check, but give me a history check.
Do I get my Hunter's Bane for it?
Yes.
Like, does this count as undead fiend? Okay.
It doesn't count as undead, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. This is kind of Hunter's Bane through your family history.
Oh no. That might be scary.
That's a 19.
Ooh.
Nice, strong. You remember a story rather than a personal experience. You do remember a story, and you do remember as part of your training you were reading through journals and what effectively are a casual family version of mission reports. And you remember reading about a gibbering mouther where they walked into a place that looked like a strange den that was covered with the ichor of dead bodies. There were skeletons everywhere. They were making sure that the skeletons weren't going to be getting up anymore, and they were going in there, and some of the magic users from your family were blasting these skeletons into bits as they were walking in. And they had managed to get into the middle of the room, this horrible, foul-smelling ichor just, sticking to their boots. And it was only when the ichor opened up a mouth, and then another mouth, and then another mouth, and then many more mouths, and it started to, gibber in this really strange, abyssal gibberish, that they started to find their minds unraveling. And a few of them were almost trying to cut through other family members just to get out of the chamber. And you remember that some oozes can have some very strange abilities. That's as far as your knowledge is concerned.
Huh.
But you firmly label this as abyssal. As far as your knowledge is concerned, this is an abyssal thing. Even though Glory was very, very certain about the fact that it was arcane in nature, and Tristane appeared to believe that this was a offshoot of some form of arcane process, you take a look at this, and there's just something in your bones that just says, this is from the abyss. This is wrong.
Okay, so as soon as I realized that, I groan and I go, oh.
What?
Okay. Okay, this is not just arcane. This is proper damned bullshit. This shit's from the abyss.
Oh, that's not good.
Interesting.
Really?
Can I roll Arcana to see if that jogs something new with the theories we have?
There's something I could tell you if you get a decent score. Go on, give me a roll. Let's see what you get.
Yeah, more dice rolls. That's what we want. Come on. Dice rolls. Dynamic dice rolling action.
The best in the world, but 12 plus 4.
Metal Gear D&D.
16.
16? Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
give it to you. It's not a huge amount to give you, so I was only really looking for a 15 anyway. You do know that abyssals, those who trip off chaos, do try to get into this world via magic. So if there was no magic in the world and the world was just mundane and going according to the god's original creation, there would be pretty much no way for a demon to get into this world. Devils, yes. To get in from hell, it requires human emotion, human flaw, sin. They can get into this world. But to get into this world for a demon, they have to get in through what can be loosely called cacophony, or disquiet, or discord. Discord. It's a crack or bend in the natural fabric of the universe, and no one does that better than Arcanists. Arcanists mess about with things. They change colors, they're colors that they're not supposed to do, or they make something emit light when it has no natural phosphorescence. They completely rip up the laws of reality, even on a casual basis. So this is still leaning, as far as you're concerned, Aiden's new data doesn't detract from your theory. It actually supports it.
That makes a perfect amount of sense, Aiden, actually. Considering it is through arcane means most demons get into our reality.
So this is not just some like random ooze rats. This is either this is caused by a fiend. Like we're looking at fiendish influence under the city. That's how serious we're talking.
Yeah, so this is either a tear that's been created into our plane, and these things are failed stuff that's tried to get through, or these are offshoots of some failed arcanist's attempt to pull something through.
I
into
also
our
like to I also like to think of it that maybe this is. I don't think demons get to our plane just like that. I think this is
Plan?
actually no. That it's like waste that happens in the process of a demon trying to get in. That's also what I think. But then I take a swig from the bottle.
Cora, I would like you to do a. Let's use your perception check, but it's actually Eowyn I'm asking you to roll for.
I thought for a minute there the dice had gone like shooting out of a dice tray. She suddenly and dramatically, and I was like, "What the fuck did she do?"
There it goes.
Flung it across the room. Do you want, because Eowyn has her own perception.
Yep, if you want to use hers, go ahead.
15.
15, sure. Hit it on the nose. She goes, Cora, what's that lump? And you can see that you look up and you can see her glassy form that's on one of the rafters. She's peering over the edge and she's pointing an arm out. She goes, what's that lump there?
Farewell, what is that?
What is what? And I look at
And
what she's pointing.
And I try and point at the same thing. Do I see what she's sort of like trying to point out?
On the rat.
Yeah, is it a lump on the rat's arm or something?
So, Eowyn tries to press her perception on you, and if you want, you can blink for a second and look through her eyes, and she'll show you exactly what it is.
Yeah, okay. I will do that. I'll look, and she can point and kind of guide me exactly where, and then I'll point it out to Farewell.
Warlock's remote viewing is the best. You blink for a moment, kind of scratching your head so that people can't see what you're doing. You blink for a second, your eyes kind of go cloudy for a second. She shows you that what I'm sure from Farewell's point of view, because he's looking at it side on, just looks like an undulation of this unctuous goo. But for you, you can see from on top that there's kind of an egg-shaped kind of island in this undulation. And where you were standing before, although this table is a bit too tall for you, Cora, but I'm sure you would have been like on a chair or something, and looking at it side on.
On a crate or something.
Yeah, certainly. Looking at it side on, it would be easy to miss. Looking at it from above, there's definitely a kind of roundish shape, let's say roughly egg-shaped, that's visible from the top. And then you blink again, and you're back in the room.
And we're back in the room. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. I'll get some tweezers, and I will try and I will gently pull.
Do you want me to pull it up? Because I can pull it up if you want.
No.
As much as we have.
As much as I trust your mage hand, I won't lie. I'm really enjoying myself, and I really, really, really don't want anybody else to do this because this is a lot of fun, and I don't often get to do this. And I'd be really, really upset if anybody took this away from me. So please don't take this away from me.
I stare at Farewell like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Please let me help you.
Eclipse, let the man have his fun.
It's not just about fun. It's about we can use a tool that will help us not touch
I just
anything.
pull it out.
Okay, so what you end up doing, Nick, is to excavate on top of this. And to give you an idea, I said it's egg-shaped. It's about medium Easter egg size. So it's big for an egg. It's like a small ostrich egg. And as you start to uncover it, and you're grabbing hold of bits of goo with tweezers, and then after a while you kind of find a spatula and you're kind of ladling it away and kind of paring off bit by bit by bit. And this is where you think maybe Mage Hand probably wouldn't have been the best tool. It would be a pretty good tool because with Mage Hand you could just physically rake away the goo with arcane fingers. But you're there and you're kind of pulling the goo away bit by bit by bit, and it's coming off again like kind of molten cheese. You guys don't feel like you're going to have fondue anytime soon. And you get to a point where the lilac parts and a pale mint bluish green surface is inside. And for those of you who know the word, it is a vesicle, a mass or fluid, well, a soft mass or fluid that is surrounded by a skin. A wobbly egg.
That's
Also,
interesting.
Simon, before you continue, I just want to apologize to any of our viewers who are eating while watching this.
Yes.
Yeah, you really
Yes.
did. You really did pick the wrong stream to come to if you wanted to have dinner.
Especially if you eat anything that has like cheese.
Yeah.
Or egg.
Anyway, Simon, go on. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
It sounds
Cheese,
strange,
angel
but
delight,
I'm
anything like that, you're screwed, sorry.
I'm going to use a charge of Eyes of the Grave as I look at this fluid.
Ooh.
Because we know that there is something about undeath to these. Something
Someone
in Farewell's brain.
Either Farewell or if Corinne has it to hand, can someone please read me the definition or the rules as written for Eyes of the Grave?
As an action, you know the location of any undead within 60 feet of you that isn't behind total cover, that isn't protected from divination magic until the end of your next turn.
Right. In that case, as written, you see nothing. There's no undead in front of you on the table. However, when you use Eyes of the Grave, the lilac mass, that lilac goo, suddenly goes goes up in color slightly, so it's slightly more vibrant, and the blue-green kind of mint pastel-colored vesicle gets slightly duller.
I think there is. You remember we talked about like a source of undeath within these, and I sort of hold it up slightly as it jiggles. I think this is our key source.
Farewell, are you
Do you want me
Planted.
Farewell, are you holding the vesicle?
with gloves?
Okay.
Oh boy.
The vesicle is warm to the touch,
Okay.
and give
That wasn't
me.
nearly terrifying as I thought it was going to be. You lose a hand.
It's warm to the touch, even through these kind of strange fabric gloves, and I'd like you to make a perception check.
Oh, good. I'm all right at that.
Roll a 1.
It's not quite a 1. It's not particularly brilliant.
Thank you, Corinne.
Never say,
It's-
oh, I'm good at that.
Fortunately for me, actually, that's fair. It works out as a 15.
Oh, wow.
As you pick it up, Farewell, it's not that it moves, it's just that the way that the weight shifts as you pick it up and kind of move your fingers slightly, the weight shifts in a bit of a weird way. It's reminiscent
it's
of picking up a
definitely
sleeping
moving
puppy.
inside.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
I don't even say anything. I just go.
Do I notice this?
And I just put it back on the table. And
Or like,
don't,
do I notice this, or do I notice
I
reaction?
I will give you a roll, Leiden. Let's. I don't want to give you perception though, because the perception I was giving Farewell is his feeling of touch and how much the weight shifts in his hand. Because visibly, it's just
Right.
a vesicle. So what I'm going to do instead is just
Mhm.
give you a gut, flight, or fight feeling. I want you to roll initiative.
All
We're
right.
not going into combat, but I just want Aiden to just roll initiative and tell me the result.
Should be good at that. Why did I say that? Fuck. Oh, that's not bad actually. That's 21.
Okay, so this is a gut instinct type. Okay, absolute gut instinct. You feel threatened.
Hmm. Okay, so
I would
what I
only
do,
allow
I have
you
my
to make
monster.
this roll.
I have a monster hunter's pack with me at all times. I
Mhm.
grab a flask of holy water, uncork it, and just let all of it out on Farewell's hand.
Sure. Farewell, your hand is wet and slightly holy.
Wet and slightly holy.
That's-
Nice.
You do know I can make this stuff myself, right? You know, that doesn't really work terribly well for me.
There's a slight
It's-
scritching from behind you.
it-
Olivia is taking notes.
I'm not focused on Farewell. How's the vesicle reacting now that I pour fucking holy water on it?
So it's on the table. I put it down on the table.
Oh, okay.
You've literally just poured holy water.
I'm
all
sorry,
over my
I thought-
hands.
I
Just
thought he
going-
still had it in his hand. I'm sorry.
No, I'm going to rule that
I-
Rodrigo was aiming to pour holy water over the vesicle. He assumed it was in your hand, but yeah, I'm going to say that there's enough holy water in the flask that he gets your hand and the table. It kind of douses just the general area for good measure. And yes, you've also got the vesicle, Rodrigo. I'm not going to get you to blow a vial of holy water and missing an inert object, yeah? So,
Like mission with a stationary target.
you feel
Yeah.
slightly better, Rodrigo, but still cautious.
Okay, so nobody touched the weird sack of fluids. That thing has some kind of sentience. I don't know if it was because I'm warm or alive, but it moved.
Right.
So
So some
Yeah.
form of living organism put into other creatures to control them from the inside?
He wants to eat it.
I just look at Eclipse.
I hope it was obvious. It was obvious to. I hope that it was obvious to Farewell that Eclipse was joking.
Should I blast it?
No, not yet. We need to investigate this further.
May I also
Fascinating.
suggest that blasting, burning, maybe, other forms
Yeah,
of getting it to die,
fire
but
will be good.
I would say force damage would probably... Well, the word I'm thinking of here is splash. Sorry, I won't butt in.
No, I agree. A healthy dose of acid or burning it. When we're done. First we need to figure this out. What's your theory, Farewell?
Honestly, that we should probably burn it with fire and
I agree.
not poke this bear anymore.
Farewell, give me an investigation check.
Okay.
Ooh, Simon, I want to check in the bucket and see if there's a similar like thing in there.
Okay, I'll get to you in a sec.
22.
22. Yeah, you can see that Aiden's actually triggered something. And if it wasn't for Aiden doing this, you probably wouldn't have got a chance to see it. The holy water, is cleaned off the vesicle, and it's cleaned off any of the remaining traces of the lilac goo that was covering its skin. The water has run off because the goo is quite sticky. The water runs off very quickly, and it's kind of washed off just on a small section, any of the goo as well. So it's just the bare skin, and as the water runs off and it dries incredibly quickly, and you can see that the skin now is starting to go pale, almost going white, almost that because it hasn't got any of the goo on it anymore, it's either drying out or denaturing in some way. So Eclipse, when you dig through, you do pull out some lumps with your mage hand. You pull out what appears to be a partially dissolved paw, and you can actually see where the bones, which are still rat bones, are getting
Amazing.
paler and paler and paler, and more pink, and then more lilac, and the bone, which is quite firm at one end where the toes are, is floppy at the other end. So it goes from firm
I'll
bone
put that to the
floppy
side
bone.
so we can investigate that.
Yep, sure. Yep. Okay. Exhibit whatever number you give it. Farewell. Yeah, you're watching this skin of this vesicle denature.
Weird. It seems to. I take some of the goop, and I in a beaker from the bucket,
Sure.
and I just start pouring it over the vesicle, just to see if that changes its position.
It improves the skin a little bit, but you can see where it's been exposed to the air, it's now got a permanent blemish on there. But you seem to have undone some of the blemishing, and the vesicle seems not neatly moisturized again.
Moisturize me. Sorry, terrible Doctor Who reference. I need to think, but I think we can pretty much say that. Would we think, Simon? I'm just leaning on the whole. This is either the slime has to get into you, or do we think the vesicle has to get into you? From what we've seen, is there
not enough data to make that call?
And besides, it might be the fact that the slime is using the insides of the organism to create the vesicle.
Yeah, as a way of reproduction, creating more of itself to thus take over more people and propagate.
I will remind you that Tristane said that one of the Kutoa was infected not by. He didn't mention any swallowing any vesicle. He said that it was sprayed with some of this vibrant goo, which was actually a richer and more reddish color than the stuff that's in front of you at the moment.
Regardless, I think it will be a good idea to not have any of this goo touch any living organism, preferably humanoid or sentient.
I just think anything alive would be bad.
Yeah.
So, if with Tristane saying that that one got infected by being sprayed, do you think that they kind of developed their kind of ooze baby in this and then spray it on people using some sort of orifice and?
Alright. You do realize you're saying this in front of Miss Storm.
Yes. Technical terms. And then spray it on someone using some sort of orifice to infect whatever victim it finds next.
Maybe, but we've got nothing to corroborate that. He could have just done what we were doing and fighting and gotten
Yeah.
sprayed and covered and
Well, he
we
did
just
say
got
it
lucky.
was a different color, so maybe this
Maybe-
thing will change color once it oxidizes.
Maybe what we
Maybe
need to
it
do
was a
is
healthier go.
Can we cut
Yeah.
this egg open?
that I would suggest we do with Mage Hand, but we would need something like a splatter screen
Yes.
and to be stood way back. I think we need to put it in like a beaker or something. Have the Mage Hand
We
cut
do
it,
have these
and we stand.
boxes. Can you cut it open if we put it in a box?
Yeah.
Clear. We want a see-through box. We want to make sure that if we're going to do this, that we can actually see what happens if we cut it open.
Yeah.
It sounds like you need a fish tank.
Yes, that would be very nice. Do you have any?
Let's take 5, and I'll have one brought over, shall I? She presses her badge and says, "Yes, I need you to go over to Merrowax's and get hold of a fish tank. About, I would say, a meter long by half a meter wide, and about half a meter deep. Somewhere along those lines, please. Bring it along to the promenade holding, and I don't want you to come in through the front door. Just knock at the front door, and one of the operatives here will answer. Thank you very much."
Glory.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know a little bit about planar stuff, but do you think that in order to create tears, you need somewhere, either perhaps where the veil was weakest, or just somewhere where perhaps they intersected would be the best place to do it?
I suppose that depends on the strength of the Arcanist doing it, but can I roll
try-
Arcana for some extra info? I mean,
The idea I've got is that clearly, if there is somebody or somebodies doing this, they're not going to be mainstream because it's affecting the sewers. So they're clearly hiding somewhere. And I think anybody
clearly
that
hiding
would
somewhere
be,
in the city.
they would pick somewhere that would be perhaps
Suitable?
or magically weakest, or even magically strong, somewhere where perhaps the lines cross or the realms overlap.
Can I try answering this as well? Because my
Of course.
Hunter's Bane gives me advantage on fiends. Recalling information about fiends.
Yep, absolutely. So,
right.
what is the question you're trying to answer?
That
Like,
I will leave to Farewell. What was the
Yeah.
exact question?
In effect, Simon, without metagaming too much, is basically what's going through Farewell's head is that this is some form of arcane abyssal construct, usually involved from either an abyssal or something moving from that plane to us. So they're usually by way of a tear, is what you told us. So I'm thinking there's got to be somewhere in this city either where the planes are weak, or we could potentially detect is weak, or where the connection between the planes is perhaps strong, and as such it's a good place to shift, for example. Because there's no way, because anywhere obvious is going to be controlled by one of the many crazy organizations. So this has got to be somewhere hidden within the city, potentially underneath it.
Okay.
I got a 21 for Arcana.
Sure.
I got a 23.
Okay. So you both get different
Nice.
different things. You both got valuable information, but from two different sources, which is quite cool. So, Aiden, every mission report, but as I say, they're kind of more journals kept in a family library, which unfortunately now is burned to the ground. You have noticed that every single time that you have any significant amount of abyssal or crazy Lovecraftian shit going on, it's been because there's been some mad-ass arcanist, necromancer, what have you, messing around with something profound. Okay? Not just changing something or making something glow or making something float or anything along those lines. They've been trying some really bleeding edge shit, either with necromancy or by transmutation or a mixture of the two, so almost biotransformation. So you've got your Frankensteins of this world, you've got your mad professors, your Igors, all of that lot that your family has gone up against it over the years. There's been some sort of weird wibbly shit to go with it that makes the undead elements seem positively normal in comparison. And it's always been where it's thrown your family for a loop. Their instincts are attuned to the Veil and the Raven Queen's Gate. So when they've come across this, it's always been one of those kind of think on your feet scenarios. And it's claimed the lives of many of your family in the past, where just something weird and tentacly has just burst out of a lab, and they're like, we're not ready for this. For the most part, your family had come to expect the unexpected, and were able to ad-lib those situations very easily. But yeah, it's always been that they've been trying to raise somebody, or they've been trying to get eternal life. The usual tropes. You'd think they'd stop trying by now. There'd be enough cautionary tales, but there's always some guy who thinks he can do better than the others. And you find that the very, very worst of these reports have been when the person has been less capable, has taken less time to prepare, is less well read, and is mostly winging it. The more that they wing it, the more wibbly it gets.
Right. Okay.
So
I answer farewell with. I answer farewell with. I don't think it has to do much with the Veil. It's mostly powerful arcanists, mostly not powerful arcanists, dealing with shit they shouldn't be dealing with, in hopes of getting something else, and then just bringing forth like awful, awful, awful things. I don't think it has to do with the strength or weakness of the Veil. It's mostly the people themselves doing this shit.
That's a shame, because now we've gone from potentially finding something to a needle in the haystack again. I mean, this city's huge. They could be hiding anywhere.
That's true.
Glory, from your score, you get something similar but profoundly different. And that is, when one does arcanist research of this kind, even though your power comes from primarily being dragon-blooded, you've come from a place with, the best mentors, some very, very capable arcane scholars, and some of the best libraries in Ilaria. Sometimes because your ancestors raided the best libraries in Ilaria. Anyway.
Obviously.
The rest you've managed to get through politics and, kind of research pacts where you've been able to copy materials and things and acquire them that way. You know that when it comes to manipulating reality, it's about class, darling. It's all about how you do it and how much quality and how much investment you're willing to put into it. Any bloody savage can just have a certain amount of power and tear at the fabric of reality with claws. There's a difference between using a scalpel and using a rusty butter knife. And a lot of people are willing to just make do with what they think will work without taking it to the nth degree and showing pride, class, prestige, that glimmer of perfectionism and professionalism that separates the men from the boys, or the women from the girls, whatever your preferred phrase. To put it into terms that you would recall, your cousin Vigilance would call them fucking amateurs. When you're changing the laws of reality, even the most profound ones, you have to make sure that it's done so in a way that is sympathetic and in harmony with how the world will react to it. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes a meticulous attitude. If somebody is just going for a quick fix, a quick result, then things like this are going to happen. It is the price. The price is either hard work, professionalism, experience, knowledge, exactitude, or you get fallout like this and you have to deal with it. Somebody in the city is being a bloody rank amateur, and whatever the process they're doing is, it's bending reality in such a way that it is allowing these things to slip through the cracks. Now, okay, it's not a giant tentacle demon. They're not ripping open a giant rift. Certainly not a stable rift, but even something that will be able to exist for a very short period of time, just a split second, might be able to allow this goo to seep through the cracks even.
Aiden,
Yeah.
and maybe even you, Glory. If you were hunting and actually, Clips, you too, you'd be bloody good at this. If you were hunting an Arcanist, particularly a shitty one, is the impression that I'm getting from the both of
Oh
you.
god, yes. An amateur who doesn't even know how to even use a knife, more than likely.
Well,
I mean,
You
seriously.
can also be an experienced one who's just has no idea what type of deep shit they got themselves
Yeah.
into.
well, I'm
Or
thinking
doesn't
is
care. No
there's-
claws at all.
well, there's no one that knows the city better than Cora. There's you two know Abyssal and Arcane, and Eclipse, you know how to find people. How difficult do you think it would be to get around the city and find whoever's doing this?
Depends if they got any information on them previously. I can look around for any Arcanist in the shady business that might have some contracts on them, but it really depends on.
Well, I'm thinking desperate, maybe
Yeah,
reckless.
they might have even put out contracts for some weird ingredients. Am I right in saying that, Sarah?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, go for it.
I wouldn't say they. I wouldn't check the contracts. I would rather go to what's the biggest. I forgot. This is me. I forgot. What's the biggest like magical like place of arcane and magical shit here in Ostergard?
The university.
University.
If I remember correct.
Yeah, university
Thank you.
is certainly the place where if you're going to expect things like this to happen, it would happen at the university. University itself, I've mentioned briefly in passing before, is made of folded space. It's quite a small building until you get inside, and then it goes all TARDIS on your ass. But it is by no means the only place. The other places would be people like Renata Green herself. There are Arcanists around the city who have their own laboratories that would potentially be very, very small, but have an established amount of magical energy that is stored in various ways. Magical items that are capable of doing incredible things that are maybe used for research. There are wizards throughout the city, not to mention the illegitimate Arcanists within the city as well.
Yeah.
Those who are either kept down by the social order or forced into backstreet practices. To just bounce that off Corinne as well, because you're both kind of going down the same line here. Corinne, give me just a straight intelligence with proficiency roll.
I want to say some after this also.
So that's a 15.
A 15. You feel that after speaking to the other guys and they were saying about, don't look at the contracts. When they say that, you're about to recoil and say, no, this is the way to go. And then you go, no, don't look at current contracts. Look through the record of all the contracts that have been done and just look for Arcanists that maybe have been hard up on their luck, maybe have been pursued through debtors' contracts instead of criminal ones. Yeah. Yes, the criminal Arcanists will probably be a good place to look, but you'll probably find that most criminal arcanists are in jail now because they don't leave those people to walk around the streets. Look for the
I
desperate.
was
Yeah.
I was going to say, don't look through the contracts. Go to the university, see if you can get records of arcanists that have been expelled or kicked out of the university recently,
Olivia
especially
goes,
around the
I think
time
that's a
this
wonderful
started
idea.
happening.
Then that's a great idea. I was gonna ask you, Miss Storm, how hard would it be to get us invited to look around the university, maybe find some clues, ask around? I mean, there are several of us who are arcane trained. It wouldn't be that odd to seek new knowledge.
Renata has good standing with the university and by all means would be able to allow you to speak to one of the clerks there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but as Ian said, yeah, looking, and also I wasn't thinking so much in current contracts, but also in previous contracts and people that have been not people that have had arrest orders on them because they would have been arrested by now, but people who have had like debt orders and stuff like that, who have been down on their luck and stuff, because they might have something to do with. Um,
You
Cora,
guys are
Cora,
brilliant.
there's
Simon,
someone at the
can
door,
we have a
Cora.
quick break?
Yes, please. A quick break.
Yep, we're going to have a quick break now. And the last line was Eowyn saying to Cora, there's someone at the door, Cora. And with that, we will take a quick break.
Nice.
like that's our fish tank.
It's our fish tank.
That'll be Amazon.
Yeah, it's the medieval Amazon Prime.
no.
We guarantee the delivery within 5 minutes.
Now
What
you
are we,
see,
Yeah.
I want the doors to open and for it to be delivered by actual Amazons. So
No. I want it
It's
to
your
be,
world, Simon. Your world.
I want it to be
If
delivered
it's
by like.
delivered by Amazon's, Glory will like die a little on the inside. Like, oh, there's so many beautiful
I want it to
women.
be droned.
It needs to be
though.
droned in, yeah.
I want it
Droned
to be
in by a
droned
dragon.
in. I want it to be like not like actual drones, but maybe like tiny arcane monsters that just drag it in.
little
And
cargo
just be
imps,
like,
yeah.
yeah, little cargo imps, and just like drop it down and be like, sign here, please. And here. Thank you for choosing Amazon. And just floating off.
Right,
Oh, humor is so bad.
we will give you guys 10 minutes and we will see you
I
back.
can't believe we've just spent an hour slicing up rats and then figuring out that, oh god, we might just be letting demons into it. And I think Rattle's gone full mind flayer. So if anybody's in chat and interacting with Rattlecat, be careful. He might latch onto your brain and suck out all the insides.
Oh yeah.
It's not like there's
yeah.
anything in there.
Promises.
Hey!
Anyway, we will see you
Jesus
all in 10
Christ.
minutes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Welcome back, everybody. Right. When we left off, Cora, Awen said, "There's somebody outside. They're at the door. And the guy who's at the front has got the biggest nose."
Does anyone hear that? I feel like there
Knock,
is the
knock,
fish
knock.
tank here already.
Yeah, it's been about 10
I am
minutes.
just.
Yeah. I opened the door with mage hand because fuck walking.
No, she said someone had to meet them at the door.
And
I'll walk
there's two
to
sets
and
of
get
doors.
the door.
Yeah.
I'll go and open the doors with my hands, physical
Okay.
hands.
As you open the door, in front of you is a deep gnome. Dark grey skin, the biggest nose you've ever seen. And I mean, a good third of this guy's face is nose, and he looks at you over half circle glasses, these kind of very old fashioned specs, and he goes, "One fish tank." And behind him are just two labourers holding this this wrapped up object that has fragile written all over it in many different handwriting.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Yes,
you
thanks
for
a lot.
shopping at Merriwax's, the place where we have fun with fins. Where would you like the fish tank?
I'll just take it here and we'll put it and I'll put it in there.
I don't recommend carrying it on your own, miss. It's rather large.
I call for someone. Aiden, come and help.
I am not the best for carrying things.
Oh yeah, the foul strong.
Yes, the strong boy.
Oh wow, that's a big fish. That's a big fish tank.
Package prepaid. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, and thank you for shopping at Merriwax's.
Where we have fun with fins.
Indeed. Now available over 103 different species of fish and sea life.
This is the weirdest place I've ever lived. And I will just go to pick up the fish tank.
I'll help you.
Yep,
Thank you very much.
the labourers hand it over.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Discount on sea anemones until the end of the week. Thank you very much. And he just toddles off.
What?
Simon, please tell me you were channeling the goblins from Harry Potter.
I've actually got a player character that I've made called Merrick, who is based on Griphook. But no, in this case, this is just what are they called? Grimalkin, the deep gnomes. And they tend to be large heads, small bodies, thin arms and legs, but weirdly muscular in their own way. And they tend to have big, kind of beady eyes and large noses.
Oh. Okay. So we'll put the big fish tank on the on the table, and I want to get. I'll just say to Eclipse, I'll be like, I think you should pick it up with Mage Hand and put it in the tank, but don't cut it yet. I want to double check something first.
All right. I pick it up with mage hand and put it gently down in the tank.
Okay. So Olivia helps out as well. She recommends you put the fish tank upside down so it's completely covered. And she says, don't worry, Mage Hand will go through, and if necessary, I can produce my own Mage Hand to help you out, Eclipse. And I recommend we put some tools in there as well, because once it's all kind of neatly
Upside
sealed,
down.
you don't want to be cracking it open, especially if there's, well, overflow. So she starts taking some pins, some vials, a few spatulas, and a couple of scalpels, and just neatly arranges it around the vesicle using her mage hand, and then she kind of gives a nod, and the two labourers who have just been playing cards and drinking something from a flask in the corner come up and help arrange the fish tank on top of the vesicle.
Nice.
Okay.
And then Olivia steps back and says, I'll only help if you ask me.
Everybody at least 10 or 15 feet back. If this goes bang, that's a lot of shrapnel and nasty goo. So, back.
Okay. So, how much do I want to... No. Carry on. So what are you doing?
It's basically walk back. So the mage hand has a range of 30 feet, so we'll be like on the range of that, and I will take out one of the scalpels and I ask Firewall if he's ready for me to cut it.
I must warn you, at 30 foot away, especially using a scalpel, it's going to be very difficult to see.
Okay, then I'll be a bit closer, like 15? 10, 15 somewhere.
Yeah. I'd say by the time you get to a point where you can comfortably see what you're doing, 10 foot.
Okay. I got high decks, guys. Do you have Federal, do you have resistance?
Sorry, what?
Do you have resistance? As a cantrip?
No.
Okay.
Hold on, I don't even think that's on my spell list. Sorry, unknown spells, no spells. It's not a cantrip. Oh, it is a cantrip I can learn. Oh, look at that.
Very well. Again, not having this spell we need.
I will point out in my. Hey! I will point out in my defense. I don't usually play magical users. I much prefer to hit
that is
things.
fair. That is fair.
But
Yeah.
no. But you can have this, and I place my hand on her, and I go, "The Raven Queen will guide your path," and I cast guidance on her because it's the only thing I can think of doing.
Yep.
Okay, I hope I don't have to make a saving throw. Let's go.
Okay, so in this particular case, the surgeon is Eclipse, and I'm assuming the consultant is Farewell. So
Yes,
Farewell,
is there a skill, Simon? Is there a skill I would feel would help me with this in that I can take from the people in the vicinity?
Ooh.
Alchemy.
General medicine from Farewell?
Well,
I'm thinking alchemy because of harvesting things and doing like experiment stuff, but I don't know if Simon will agree with that.
Are you proficient with a healer's kit?
Well, you don't need to be proficient with healer's kits, but given his background, I would say yes.
Okay. I'm going to go with...
I'm proficient in medicine, if that helps.
Okay. I'm going to say, in this particular case, there are enough people in the room, Eclipse, that you can gain proficiency in what you're doing.
Okay.
Okay? You just generally feel out, because when you're trying to access the power of the apron, when you're trying to access the power of the apron, you are normally focusing on a task, a doing thing, rather than just going, I choose alchemy. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like, hey, I really want to brew this thing. I've got the tools in front of me. They're looking familiar. I'm empathizing with them. So it's kind of like an empathy process. So you're there holding a scalpel with mage hand, and you just kind of go, how familiar does this feel? And you just start feeling this thing soaking into you, this experience soaking into you. So I'd say, yeah, you've got proficiency.
Nice.
You can't quite tell who you got it from, though. So that's going to be interesting. So the other parts of this, let me just double check. Yes. Yeah. So Farewell, what are you intending Eclipse to do?
I think so. What we figured out is that the goo in the sack, when I held it, moved. So we didn't say. Did it move towards? Did I feel it move towards the hand or towards my body? I forgot to ask.
You felt the weight shift slightly. It didn't move. It's just that the weight. It's almost like having one of those gyro balls. If you've ever used one of those, those gyro balls where you kind of it starts to resist your wrist after a while. Yeah, and that's how it felt. Is that as you were picking it up and you're moving it from side to side, it's like it resisted slightly. It didn't actually move or pulse or vibrate or writhe. It's just a feeling. And then Aiden's kind of gut instinct that he was in danger, something from maybe his blood hunter abilities, kind of just backed that up of you. Like, whoa, this is some freaky blob here. And you're both kind of working off a very visceral sense.
And there's nothing solid within this. It is literally just like a sack of goo.
The whole thing
We don't know.
feels fairly dense. Solid, you haven't felt anything hard, but you have felt, as you were picking it up, just the shifting of the weight, that maybe the density isn't the same throughout, that maybe some parts are more dense than others.
Okay.
I think what we wanted to see is if this green thing inside it oxidizes, if that turns into a different color or whatever happens. Just basically cut up and see what happens is what we're
I was
trying to
actually just going to work it and let's just see if we can kill this sumbitch and find out what happens. So yeah, slice him open. It's not scientific in any way, shape, or form, but right at this very moment in time, I just want to set it on fire. So, yeah, cut it.
Okay.
Cool.
You cutting it open, Eclipse?
Yes. Do I get advantage for Fraggle helping me with this?
This is very much a team effort. You guys have all been very, very careful. You know, you've put a lot of preparation into it. The preparation alone would give you advantage. So give me dexterity proficient check with advantage.
Yep. Nice. And guidance because feral.
And guidance, yes.
If you don't roll a 30, I'll be disappointed.
Okay, so that's just 20 with the guidance plus 6, 26.
26, yeah. I mean, he only asked you to cut it open. There's no specific thing you have to do. It's not as if you're doing a form of ectomy. So you just draw a very neat line over the vesicle, and it gets around about a third of the way through when it starts to split open, and you decide to just do a nice neat line from one end to the other. The sac kind of spills open, and you notice that it's around about a centimetre and a half thick, this sac. But what seems to be a very kind of firm skin, albeit quite soft and undulating, well, not soft, supple and undulating, falls aside. It has got a certain thickness to it, but as it gets, as it goes further in, it goes from being quite firm on the outside to soft, almost like ripe avocado, and roughly the same colour. Although a bit of blue tinge to it on the way in. I'm ruining many food groups for people today. Consider this an achievement. And it falls to one side, and inside is this deep red with only a tinge of the lilac-y purple that you're accustomed to the goo being. But it's mostly this deep red bordering on pink goo. And it starts to spill out.
So is that the goo? Is that the goo inside that it's like purple?
Yeah, it's like a yolk. It's like a yolk inside this vesicle.
Ew.
And it starts to spill out this deep red with as a tinge of purple, a tinge of purpley pink, and it starts to spill out. And you're just like, I've just opened an egg. Great. And as you're thinking that, a gout of this dark color, this reddish ooze, a gout of it just lashes out and hits the glass.
Oh, fuck!
It starts to drip
I wanna
down
try
the
something.
sides of the glass when another gout just goes spurt out in another direction, hits the glass. This time it's hitting what is the roof but would have been the bottom, and it would have jumped out of the fish tank if you hadn't had it upside down. And it hits the top and just starts dripping down. But as it's dripping down, these tendrils, it's a thick, sticky substance, this ooze. As it's dropping down, instead of dropping down like droplets of water, it's making thin, kind of snotty streams as the main blob is coming down. And as it's coming down, you notice that these streams, these snotty streams, are waving backwards and forwards, almost as if it's trying to find something. And then it hits the stone table, and it seems to be motionless. I'm not going to say inert, but it seems to be motionless as it hits the floor again. And
I kick it with the knife.
I
I cut it with the knife.
Fascinating.
the knife doesn't seem to do anything to it.
Interesting.
Okay.
I did.
like
What do you think?
farewell. Let me you have a holy symbol. Lend it to me.
Yeah, I for a moment, I just sort of look at him like, okay.
I grab the holy symbol.
I unclip it from my thigh and I hand it to him.
This is a bit of an experiment. This is just to confirm my suspicions.
You know, I'd be really upset if you break that, right?
Don't worry. You say that the goo is inert near like one of the walls of the fish tank. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's kind of pooling all over the place now. You've placed the fish tank so that it's not going over any of the grooves. So it's going up to where the fish tank is neatly on the table, and it's just kind of pooling there. It doesn't seem to be able to get past that little barrier there. If there's any imperfections, it might be that it'll be able to seep out eventually, but at the moment it seems to be contained.
I'm going to prepare to pull him backwards.
Okay,
So I'm not going to do it now, but I just want to be in a position that should I need to, I can grab him and pull him back.
Okay, yeah, you've got Aiden's back. Aiden, what are you doing?
I put the holy symbol in front of it, like I'm showing it to it, and I want to see if it reacts. Kind of, yeah.
I'm going to ask a personal question. Personal question for Aiden. What's Aiden's faith like?
0.
Does he not does he pay respects? I assume he knows the gods exist, but he doesn't really think of them.
Yeah.
Knowing the gods exist and having faith are two very different things.
Yeah,
0. Like I'm not counting to recall of my faith. I want to see if it reacts to the symbol.
Okay. So, have you given Aiden your holy symbol as in the one that you use for casting magic? Farewell.
Yes, because my actual other holy symbol is underneath my armor, and that would take about 10 minutes to fish out.
Okay. Okay. You've kind of caught me a little on the hop, but let's roll with this. Aiden, you go up and you press it to the glass. At this point, I'm going to kind of bullet time it and ask Farewell. We know from your backgrounds, from your character bio, that you are very much of faith.
Mm-hmm.
I would... a role to represent your faith. What do you think? Religion, is that fair?
I would go with religion.
Sure. Okay.
Religion based on wisdom, Simon. If I can give I would to represent faith rather than your knowledge of religion. I would go religion based of wisdom rather than intelligence. But that's
Yep. No,
just
I
a
think
suggestion.
that's fair. I think that's fair because I was about to say there's a very big difference between faith and religion. You can have faith without having any religion. You can
Ye-
follow a religion vociferously without having any faith whatsoever. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say, and that actually plays into Nick rather well. Give me a wisdom with proficiency roll.
Oh boy. 17.
17.
Not bad.
I'll take it.
Okay.
As he takes your symbol, something that takes you off guard slightly, and presses it up against the glass, you realize that, he's taken the symbol of your goddess, your faith. And even though he doesn't have faith in the gods, he seems to put faith in you. And that's enough. You take the moment to connect through the action that he's doing. And as you focus, you realize that he's pressing what to him might be just another symbol worn by many clerics throughout the world, but for you is your way of life, the impact that you're going to make in this world. He's holding that symbol up against the glass, in a way kind of holding you up against the glass as a source of power, a source of trust. And at that moment, you allow yourself to just open up to it all. And the world starts to slow. Over one shoulder, you hear a voice, and at first you think it's Olivia. But then you realize the voice is wistful, mysterious, would probably be honey-like mellifluous if it was a little more cheerful. But instead there's a kind of passive sorrow to the voice, and you're almost certain of what you're going to see if you turn around. And the voice says, "That which is born from death is most resistant to be put back through the gate. It should be challenging even for us. The rules have been broken, even the rules of our mistress."
Oh, shit.
Wait, can you repeat that again? I kind of blanked out. Sorry.
That which is born from death resists to be put back through the gate. The rules have been broken, the rules of our mistress. Farewell. Do you turn around at that point?
Yeah.
You realize that the world has slowed down and colors are very much subdued. And standing behind you, I guess in terms of height and of youthful appearance, is a young woman. I'd say probably no older than 13, no younger than 11, but is centuries upon centuries upon centuries old. She has hair that is salt and pepper. For those of you who don't know what that means, it means that part of it is dark black, and some of it is like a silver grey. Yeah. A little bit like Nick is rocking at the moment. But this very much, it's long, it's straight, it looks very perfect, and it doesn't seem to be from age, but just seems to be this is the colour and pattern of her hair. Incredibly pale. She looks at you with eyes that are just two cold, dead orbs that are just jet black. And she doesn't seem to have any redness to her lips or even around her eyes or anything. There's no sign of red at all. She's almost completely monochrome. And she's standing in front of you in what seems to be a single-piece robe, or I guess loosely you could call it a dress, which is very reminiscent of a funeral robe. And she looks at you with cold, dead eyes, and you know that this is one of the Raven Queen's muses. So a host of angels. Many of the gods have a form of muse. They take on different forms. This is hers.
I am honored to see you. Um, why are you here?
Because we are interested, and you seek knowledge. You always seek knowledge, but you seek particular knowledge here. Knowledge that is abandoned. Knowledge that is lost.
I'm not sure I follow. We want to understand what that is and what's making them, and maybe find who's doing it and stop them. Can you help me?
You know as well as I do that I'm bound by certain rules, the rules of our mistress, the rules that she agreed to, the rules that made her a goddess in the first place and restored balance to the world. Unfortunately, those who could tell you the facts that you seek are now beyond the veil. And she waves a hand very kind of slow motion, dreamlike, to one of the far walls, and one of the far walls just crumbles away as if it was only millimeters thick and made out of maybe kind of sugar rather than the plaster that it's made of. It falls away immediately to just a dark void, and there's a face again, pale, wan, clearly dead. The eyes, this time not black orbs, but just dead eyes. And the face just suddenly looms out of the darkness, and the body that you can see there as well. It seems to the color that you could see here. So this figure is not devoid of color like the muse, but is just subdued colors as if ghostly. And you can see that this person is wearing arcanist robes. There's blood streaked across the robes. The robes are torn up slightly, and you can just see this corpse almost floating there as if it's underwater, but instead it's floating in what is the endless void that's just appeared from the wall shattering. You blink, and you're back in the room. The muse is gone. The wall is contained. The wall is back. The wall is back again.
And you're back in the room.
And yeah, you're back in the room. Aiden, when you press your, well, not your holy symbol, the holy symbol up against the glass, the ooze backs back all of about half a centimeter, but it does do so. It does move away.
Ooh.
Yep.
Ooh.
I give Farewell back his holy symbol. Yeah, that's definitely Finnish. You should burn it. And I look it over at Glory like this is your time to shine.
Now that I can do. I don't
Should we
think
burn
we can
it right
get
now? Or, I don't know, Farwell. Do you want to burn it right now?
I've just sat on the floor. just sat down.
I have
No,
some.
this confirms.
Okay.
Though I want to say this do confirm my suspicion that this was the red goo that the Suhugan, not Katoa, got sprayed by. That the what's the noble guy's name?
Tristane.
Lord Tristane mentioned. So yes, it does create its babies with these eggs and have and then spray it on people, I assume.
By the way,
Yep,
if you touch so I assume if you touch this you get infected, so let's not become ooze people.
Cora, do me a
Farewell,
favor.
you okay?
Oh, no, you're going with it. Never mind. Carry on.
Are you okay, Farewell?
I had a bit of an experience. I saw the muse spoke to me. I've never had that happen before.
We know what that means.
Yeah. Do you know what the muse means? Or who the muse is?
Sorry. The Raven Queen sent a a message to me. She showed me
right.
She told me that
What did
this
they
is
say?
born from death, and it is not easy to get it back through the gate. The things are out of balance again, which usually means that we've got maybe a lich. Oh god, I'm so scared. But what she did show me was a face, a dead arcanist.
What thing?
So maybe he died when he summoned them.
Can you
The
draw it
one
in
we're
your
looking
book?
for might not even be left here.
I can
Perhaps just a casualty in what would be a power play.
maybe.
Do
I can.
Simon, do I have any knowledge at all of blood magic?
Blood magic isn't really a thing here.
Well, the type of magic that they would use to basically using people's essence to power their things.
I
You've
think
heard of
that would be
necromancy.
more leaning towards Glory's expertise, to be honest.
You've both
Yeah.
actually heard of necromancy. So necromancy can be used for a number of different things. The reference that you'd probably have here is that manipulation and using death as a asset. You reference the false life spell, where you take death and you take necromantic energy and you put a mockery of life around yourself as temporary hit points. That kind of thing is where you're kind of mechanizing death. So that is something that can happen. And yeah, the people who know about it are Glory, Eclipse, Farewell, and Aiden. This is something you all have in your backgrounds. The only person who hasn't really touched this stuff, and that's probably to her credit, is Cora, where she's kind of like, hey, I just came into magic through misadventure. You know, I've never been around this stuff. In fact, most of why Cora is alive now is because she hasn't dabbled in any of this stuff.
Yeah.
That is why.
You are crazy.
Yeah.
Hate my fucking job.
I pat Cora on the shoulder and I stand up, look into the box, and I go, back to the hells with you. And I cast Sacred Flame into the fish tank.
Okay. Well, you've
that's something that just appears.
yeah, no, this is definitely the right spell to be using. There's a few spells that you could use. Obviously, to use things like firebolt and things, you would have to actually raise the fish tank and fire it in there, which is going to be a dangerous endeavor. Sacred Flame is one of those spells that, as you say, just appears. So roll me some damage. It hits, of course it hits. You're shooting ooze in a barrel, or ooze in a fish tank.
Yeah.
8!
Shooting fish in a barrel.
8 points of damage. Wow. Okay. So the amount of damage that he does, even just by calling on his goddess, may be spurred on for the specific attention that she has on this issue. A huge amount of this, it'll be the Raven Queen's kind of ethereal silver flame that just appears everywhere inside this fish tank, which oddly not damaging the fish tank itself. As it starts to incinerate everything that's inside, I would like everybody to make a perception check. I will accept... No, I'll just accept perception.
I rolled a
17.
natural 1.
Simon, something happened with your camera. I'm not sure what you did. You're currently, like... I don't know if that's just me.
That's probably just you.
I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
probably
you.
not
Look,
me.
Okay, that's fine now. Okay. I got a 13.
Okay, so any advance on 17?
19.
I got I got 17. Okay.
10.
Okay. So the only people who see this are Aiden and Glory. Farewell, you're busy burninating the insides of this fish tank, so you're
I'm
focusing
just
on the
staring
flame.
at the fire.
You.
Yeah,
I'm just lost in the flames.
sure. So both Glory and Aiden do notice something, and that is just as this flame ignites, and it kind of appears everywhere all at once. It's kind of the nature of sacred flame. This strange radiance that has a kind of flickering flame type form. It's not actually fire. Just as that ignition of the spell's energy fills the space, the red ooze bubbles and reacts. And it kind of takes, if you look at the whole thing, as the rest of them, for example, they see effectively an explosion. The sacred flames appear within the fish tank at the same time that the ooze kind of explodes. It hits the sides of the fish tank. The flames carry on burning it, and just as it's there, sloughing down the sides of the fish tank, it's getting to this thin layer of ooze that very quickly gets just dried up and then obliterated by this flame, and soon all that's left inside is burnt matter. But just beforehand, you notice
I
that
murmur.
the ooze explodes as the spell is initiating, but not before it gets hit by the flames. It reacted to the magic.
What were you gonna say, Aiden?
Yeah, I was gonna say I murmur to myself something in Celestial. I say, back to the pit. To the ooze.
Roll me a charisma check with advantage.
Ooh.
I did not expect this. It was... Good thing you gave me an advantage. That's 12.
Okay.
Good thing.
Now give me an insight check.
That's 24.
Nope.
Okay. No, cool. So you murmur this in Celestial, telling it to go back into the pit. And it's not a language per se. It's not even a sound, but just a feeling. You have a feeling that the ooze flipped you the bird before it exploded.
I love that.
Just this general sense of "fuck you, dude" as it died.
Fascinating. Did you guys notice that?
Well, we probably didn't notice that he flipped.
No, not
Aiden.
that.
Notice what?
Yeah.
Like it
reacted.
exploded with it set on fire. It's cool.
No.
It reacted to the
It
magic, not to the flame.
Yes.
What?
Aiden, thank you. Someone else saw it. It reacted to the magic before the flames burned it. In other
might
words,
be a bit more intelligent than we thought.
either that or it's really sensitive to celestial magic.
Huh.
Also very valid. What do you think, Miss Storm?
Olivia she looks genuinely shook up at this. She walks up and she's walking around it whilst squinting at it, and you can tell she's keeping a good 5 foot between her and the glass, and she says, "Not that I believe you haven't done this correctly, Farewell, but I would rather add to this if I may." And she reaches to the kind of neat little stylish holster that she has at her belt. She pulls out a wand and she goes, "Aros Periot!" And as she does so, a gout of flame appears inside the fish tank, and as she's there just holding the wand and pointing it at the fish tank, this flame just keeps going and going and going until the fish tank
Holy
itself
shit.
is going red with the heat. And she holds
I
it there
think
for
we might
about
want to.
30 seconds. She's holding it there, so it's about, for mechanical reasons, she does it for, what was it, 30 seconds is 5 rounds? And it gets
Yeah.
a good cherry red. When she finishes and she disengages, the fire disappears instantly, and all that's left inside is ash and charred metal implements.
Yeah. Very nice, very nice.
Okay, I think next time we should probably order some more flame resistant.
Sure. Should we do the same to this rat?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Anything that they ooze touch, just fucking burn it.
Okay.
I've already walked off with my book, and I'm trying
Farewell.
to remember that guy's face, and I'm trying to take Cora's suggestion and just draw it out as best
Okay.
as I can remember. And I'm just zoned out. I'm completely lost on what they're doing.
I
While
just
they're burning that,
put-
I'm gonna double check if there's an egg in the bucket that we didn't see.
I don't care if there's an egg in the bucket. I want to burn it all.
Yeah.
There is no egg in the
For
bucket.
one, I agree with Glory.
Yeah.
This
and
is
then
the
burn the
only
bucket.
time I will agree with Glory.
Wow. I know I've
I-
really turned it up to 11 when Aiden and Glory are in agreement.
I'm not
Yeah.
bickering.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do is that as all is zoned out, I just kind of put his holy symbol next to him because I still had it in hand.
Sure.
So it's like internally, because something I wanted to ask him was like, do you always get like visions from the Raven Queen when someone takes your holy symbol away from you?
Oh no.
Not when they take it away, but yeah, she talks to me. It's not the first time.
Okay, sorry, I won't ask it for it again, and then I just leave him be.
You know, they still talk about you as he walks off.
Yeah, I don't care.
One day, my friend, and I clip it back onto my book,
Sure.
my sort of little clasp where it usually sits,
Sure.
and I'll continue trying to make something that doesn't look like a 4-year-old's done it.
Mhm.
Okay. So as you're there sketching it out, and I'm sure that Cora's kind of taking a look, you realize that you can't do some parts of it justice. You notice that this is a gaunt, middle-aged guy. Because of the way that he was presented, you can't tell what his hair may have been, the way it would have been styled, and even what color it was in life. And again, some of the face you notice was contorted in what you've seen before is called a death mask, where the muscles of the face atrophy and it pulls it to be slightly longer and with accentuations that they wouldn't have had in life. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
But I also watch a lot of crime shows, so
I'm trying to
No, I
draw
follow.
from that as much as possible. I did make the joke in the chat earlier that this was CSI Astrogold.
yes.
Hell yeah.
You do
Down.
remember one thing, Farewell, and that was this was a half-elf. Even through the death mask and everything else, you did kind of get the vibe that this was a half-elf. And yeah, that's pretty much it. A middle-aged half-elf with medium to long hair. But it was hard to tell because the hair was doing the whole kind of underwater thing and being like a wispy mane around his head.
It's not a whole lot to go on, but something maybe. Less needle in a haystack and more sword in an armory, maybe.
Cora,
Yeah.
I would like you to make a. Do I want investigation or empathy? Insight. Give me insight with advantage.
$22.
Okay. I'm going to
Holy
get you
shit.
to roll a deception check in a minute, but let's get started with what you see, and then we'll zoom out to what everyone else sees. Cora, for want of a better word, you're excited. You're excited in a high energy and I guess kind of stimulated way. Stimulated as in you've just come from a really intense run or a workout session. Your heart is pounding, adrenaline is just coursing through your veins. You're suddenly just very aware of everything around you. You seem to just connect with what Farewell is trying to write down, and there's something just nagging at the back of your mind. I'm going to ask you to make a character choice. You can do one of two things. You can push this down, suppress it, yeah, defy it, just completely do the British thing and ignore the feeling, yeah. Or you can try to understand it, accept it, embrace it. Which would you like to do?
Can I know any more than that? Like, why would I don't know why I'd be suppressing it if it just seems to be excitement and understanding. I think I need to know more.
No, that's fair. That's fair. The feeling, even though it's you who's having the feelings, you can feel like the stimulus for this is coming from outside of you. Not somewhere in this room. It's not something that's spatial, but it's something that's coming outside of your mind, but is on the outskirts of your mind. And the closest that you have in terms of experiences so far is when somebody contacts you through a sending spell or through the green organization badges. You know they're not physically there with you, but something is beaming into your mind. That's how it feels. It feels like there's something about your nature that's being triggered from an external stimulus when you see what is a pretty good diagram from Farewell. I'm not going to get him to roll. He's been the abject journalist throughout all of this. He's been sketching down bits of Iden. He's been sketching down interesting things that he sees. This is more a diagram kind of thing rather than a portrait, but he gets enough of it right that you just, and it's quite clear. I mean, he said that he saw a body, he saw a dead person. There's just something as you look at it that you just get this feeling. And it's one of these feelings where it feels alien, it feels external, but it does feel like it's coming straight into you. And it's one of those things where you can either open the door wider, or you can slam it shut, or you can just leave it in the tentative middle place if you want. I'll accept that too. What are you going to do?
I don't. Well, I mean, from what I know, from what you've just said, and I'm looking at this image, I'm feeling like this is trying to give me some sort of information, which I want because Farewell wants it and we all want it. So I might have misinterpreted what you're trying to do here, but I think I want information, so I want whatever is trying to talk to me.
Okay.
And maybe I'm going off on the wrong direction from what you're trying to do. But
this is one of those things where there's no wrong direction. Yeah.
No, sure, yeah. But.
And if I'm being vague, no, this is great. If I'm being vague, I'm being deliberately vague. This is an alien feeling. It's something that you can't get a firm grasp of. which is why even when I explain more to you, I'm not going to give it to you in anything more than slightly vague terms and comparative terms. And this is the type of role playing that I've come to really enjoy with Kate, by the way, of putting her in a situation and just seeing what she does with it. So you're going to open the door and learn what you can? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. You allow
I
yourself...
burst into flames and kill them all.
You would not have a dark god, but a queen!
Right. So,
where's my lava suit?
so you open the door, you let this, whatever this is, flood your mind, and you allow yourself to feel. As you do so, you realize that you're getting an empathy with rage, that somehow a source of rage, either to do with the dead body or to do with the goo or to do with something to do with this situation, is brimming over. And because you're so close to it, you can smell it, you can taste it, you can feel it. You know, it's like it's permeating your skin. And as you do so, you're kind of wanting to get to know more about where this rage comes from, where this wrath came from. This is clearly a wrathful act. And you have a gut feeling that this body that you've seen was murdered. And murdered in a very violent way, emotionally violent way, maybe not graphically violent, but emotionally violent way. As you do so, you feel a power surging through you. Your skin is burning. You can see everything around you in crisp, clean color. You know, if you were very slightly short-sighted, for example, you would suddenly be like, I can see everything. I would like everyone who's not Cora to do a perception check, DC 10. Sorry, DC 15.
Yay!
I've just checked my notes, DC 15.
Yeah, I don't see shit.
Yeah.
16.
Okay,
17 for me.
okay. And Phil?
28.
Whoa! Okay.
What?
Okay. Cora is probably not aware of it right now because she's looking at your drawing. You stop doing the rest of your drawing for now and look slightly shocked, Farewell. The other two of you did see it as well. Because, let's see, it's Cora's right hand is balled up in a fist, just down to her side, just down by her hip. Her right hand is balled up, and the air is shimmering around her right hand, like a heat wave is coming off it. Cora's completely oblivious to this as she's processing these feelings and focusing on that drawing and getting this realization. And before any of you get a chance to say anything, or you can say something after this event, she resolves to what she's felt, and the hand just suddenly relaxes and the shimmer disappears. But the shimmer looked rapid, violent. The air was just wavering. And I will allow for Farewell, because he got so high. Not only did you see it, it's very clear that Olivia saw it as well.
Oof.
Hey.
I turn to Farewell. I turn to Farewell because I saw that, so I say, maybe you should close the book for now.
Yeah, I snap it shut.
Cora, you have no idea. Why did he do that?
Are you okay? You and I
Yeah.
are having... You got the look, you know, taken
Huh?
from someone that often zones out. You weren't with me, or any of us here. You stepped out for a moment. You...
Well, I got this cool feeling, like I knew that this... I think this person was murdered.
Well, hold on. I mean, he's definitely dead. I mean, I saw him on the other side, and yeah, he was covered in blood, but Murdered? That's a bit of a jump.
Why do you think he was murdered, Cora?
Just got this feeling. Like, I don't know. I was looking at your picture and I got this feeling, and it was kind of telling me this person was murdered, but like not necessarily even like stab murder, but sort of some kind of weird psychic murder thing. It's fucked up.
Right.
Psychic
Cora, do you need to lay down a little?
No, I'm cool. I'm buzzing.
Yeah.
That
you
explosion
feel
stuff
great.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure you didn't get into Aiden's bash?
He drinks. He doesn't do drugs. I mean, that would be really messed up.
I think we should go off and like see if anyone recognizes that face. Because maybe other people will recognize it like I recognized it, and then you can find out who he was, and more stuff.
Olivia says, "Yeah,
I-
sure. I think that's a good idea. We can carry on burning this stuff if you want."
Also, Simon, sorry, I didn't realize I had myself muted. I was asking if I could roll insight on Cora.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah.
That is a 19.
19. I'm going to, unless I did say I was going to get Cora to do a deception check. Would you say that that's relevant, Kate, or do you think she would just be too focused and oblivious?
I don't think she feels like she's got much to hide. Maybe the sort of why she was feeling slightly ragey, or excited by the murder, maybe, but she just thinks she's got some cool insight knowledge and stuff. So
Okay.
she doesn't know why they're so anxious.
I'm gonna.
I guess.
Yeah, for Aiden, I'm going to choose at 19. I'm going to choose the word exhilarated. You can see that she's exhilarated. You don't get a huge amount more than that, but considering everybody was looking so worried, and you've got the usual furrowed brow from Farewell, which you've come to know, especially when he's thinking hard about stuff, and you've had a lot to think about recently.
Yeah.
Poor boy.
Yeah.
Cora is now quite a juxtaposition to how everybody else is looking. Everybody else is looking worried, confused, scared, interested, certainly, a lot of those different emotions. But the only one who's got the bright cat eyes, ironically, is Cora. And
Right.
she's buzzed. She's on the case. She's there. You could just be enthusiasm, but she has a look of exhilaration. Almost mirth.
Be
We
honest.
should go find more of these to like blow up.
Let's not go looking for more of these, but let's.
Well, we
go
have to,
looking for
but
this
people are in danger if we don't, right?
Let's go for the source rather than more things for a fight. Let's go see if
That's
we can find.
Yeah.
kind of what I meant. I thought we were.
We need to
Yeah.
make sure that this guy or girl knows that, like, if you're gonna do stuff like this, at least do it with a little claws. I mean, this is pathetic.
I'll be honest with you. I have a very low tolerance for necromancy, and unless they repent, I'm probably going to bash their fucking head in.
Yeah, that works.
I mean that not in a sort of look, Farewell's finally snapped way, but more along the lines of this is evil.
Cora,
Pure
do me a
evil.
favor and give me that deception check now, please.
Sorry, Simon, did you say deception or perception?
Deception.
Deception.
Okay.
14.
14.
Yeah, it's not all that good. I rolled an 8, but I got a 6 on deception, but no, I've only rolled an 8.
Does anyone have a passive insight above 14? So that's your insight score plus 10.
My insight score.
I have 50.
10.
Me, sir. I do, sir.
So, Aiden and Farewell so far. Mine is 12, so no.
13.
No.
So
Okay.
me and
Aiden and Farewell, boys, you can see that when Farewell mentioned that he was going to bash the skull in of whoever was practicing this particular brand of necromancy. Necromancy isn't necessarily a really bad thing here. It is just a school of study, but it's a school of study which is kind of in the same way that Defense Against the Dark Arts is also teaching people the dark arts. It has that kind of duality about it, so it's there's more forbidden lore and spells in necromancy than in any other brand of magic. When Farewell mentions bashing in the skull of the person who's quite clearly abusing this school of magic, without being able to resist it, Cora's body language just got very excited. Her eyes got a little bit wider. I've been watching too many episodes of Lie to Me, I've just realised. Her eyes get just a little bit wider. She kind of suddenly rolls her shoulders as if ready for a fight. She doesn't even know she's doing it. Very subtle signals, but you two both pick it up.
Oh, no. Are you sure?
Kate, before we go any further, you need to note something down. The next time you use Eldritch Blast, it's an automatic hit and it's an automatic critical hit.
Holy shit! Holy shit!
That's what you get for opening doors. You get
I'm
power.
not sure that's a good idea.
Yeah,
I knew it was probably a bad
I need
idea.
more
I knew
power.
Simon was tempting me. It was like, well, Cora doesn't know what she's getting into.
Embrace your
Look, when
destiny.
the DM always describes something like that and about embracing something like that, it's always a bad idea.
No,
it's
don't
always
do it.
the DM's
Always
Yeah,
do
but
it.
I'm not. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna metagame it. Let it.
Let's
This is.
No, that's
it's-
fair.
Let the crazy begin.
Poor green boy.
Are you sure you're okay? You're
Yeah,
more
but we've just been
excitable.
cooped up in this warehouse a long time, like poking shit. Can we go do something? Let's go
Yeah,
find this guy, and then
You're right.
Alright,
You've
let's
been
try to find the guy.
patient. Let's go.
Yeah, there's some other things I want to do as well, so...
Okay.
Yeah,
Wait,
sure.
hold on a second. Aiden wants to do something? What the fuck?
I put the back of my hands against his forehead. No,
Is it sleep? Is it drinking? If it's neither of those two things, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Well, you done with Aiden.
Hang on, I've got to make a character choice here. Yeah. You hear behind you Olivia say, he has hidden talents. If you want to make an insight check, do it.
Okay.
But
Yes.
Okay,
I
I'm
know
gonna
nothing.
see.
Insight.
24.
7.
Oh.
okay, so
Tell me all the things, Dungeon Master.
who got between 15 and 20?
I got 24.
I know what you got. I know what you got. I've got something for you. Okay, so Glory,
Yes.
you get a certain amount of. Olivia's trying to manage you. She's trying to make sure that you don't crush this moment of initiative from Aiden, and she wants Aiden to do more. It's clear that she wants Aiden to do more. She wants to see what he's capable of, and her show of confidence is very out of character for her. So she's managing you guys by saying, no, don't, take the piss out of the guy. Let's see what he's up for. And that there's a certain professionalism to the way she says it. Farewell, you git.
I can feel a nerfing coming.
It's only because I'm rolling exceptionally well tonight. I banished the naughty dice to the jail where it is sat in for a week, and he has decided to play ball.
You're using the good shapes instead of the bad shapes. Okay, so you hear everything that Glory heard. However, again, in a very kind of Cal Lightman kind of way, you can hear that there's certain inflections to her words that Glory is clearly missing, but Glory would love to hear. And there's a certain purring quality to some of the inflections on the words. Just this little bit of a purr. And it's when you see that kind of when you hear that inflection, you look at the eyes, and she's locked onto Aiden, studying him a lot. She's very interested as to who this guy is. She wants to get deeper into who this guy is.
Oh yeah.
And
Something like that.
you're getting maybe you're not getting a full on kind of, bow chicka wow wow moment. But there's a fascination.
Yeah.
There's a fascination with a grain of admiration.
Okay. Come on, Rodrigo, I'm being good.
I don't know if I have to roll insight for this, but can I just read the room and how everything got super weird as soon as I talked?
With your charisma score, no.
Because Eclipse really likes Aiden. She will walk up to him and kind of link arms and be like, "Okay, Aiden, what do you want to do?" Because she actually is really happy that Aiden wants
You've got
to
a
do
supportive
something.
member of the party. I mean, they're all supportive in one sense.
Oh, we're supportive. We were just shocked. We're like, finally, yes, do something. Let's do it.
I know.
All you'll see on Farewell is just a face full of his razor sharp teeth, because the smile on his face is that big.
Fuck you all. You're making me uncomfortable. I'm leaving.
Do you keep linked arms with Eclipse and drag her?
No. I'm just
Do you
getting the
say
fuck
that?
out.
You say that. I'm like, yes, come on, everyone. He's leaving. Let's go. Let's follow. Let's see what he does.
Yeah,
I keep linked arms with you, and because I'm actually being supportive to you.
In answer to your question, Rodrigo, these guys are so expressive. You don't need to roll. You don't always have to roll an insight check. These guys are expressing themselves enough that you don't have to worry. You get that it's a genuine vote of confidence from Olivia. She stays there and she starts telling the two laborers how she's going to basically burninate the whole lot now. And you do notice that the look of surprise from Farewell and Cora when you say, "Oh, I've got something I need to do," is positive. However, it is still the type of social energy and social attention that Aiden rides under. So I understand why you're still kind of going, actually, screw this, I'm off. But you do get approval. I mean, no insight check required there. You do get that this is a positive thing that they're doing. It's just maybe they're going about it in just the wrong way, in the same way somebody who starts a band and their parents are just a little too supportive of the new band, and it kind of makes them want to close the band down, So yeah,
Never said we were good people.
I leave.
We all walk with you. So
yeah, we actually all follow you.
This is perfect. This is perfect. We're getting to where I wanted for the end of the session. So with 3 minutes left, let's do this. You leave the holding house. One of the laborers locks the door behind you, just kind of latches it shut. You still have the key. You can still get in. As you go outside, you can see that Aiden is starting to break away. Eclipse very close nearby, because she made a point of staying close to him, and the rest of you are kind of in tow, fascinated as to what you're going to see. At which point, because I didn't really have a great deal for Cora originally for this session, so the thing I've got prepared is still going to trigger. I want Cora and Eowyn to both do perception checks.
Oh no.
As we're walking outside, Farewell will just say to Glory, because he knows that she would pick up on this sort of thing. He goes, "Do you think there's perhaps a love triangle between Aiden, Olivia, and Eclipse?"
Fuck no.
Miss Storm is definitely interested.
Oh yeah. I don't know if it borders past professional yet, but she's And Eclipse has always been pretty honest about what she wants.
Yeah, she's a cat.
I don't know about you, but I can hear
I hate both of you.
I can hear Rattle drawing from here. Strange. Anyway,
Yes, same. Rattle, calm down.
not the best of rolls. So Cora got a 14 and Awen got a 12.
Okay, right. It's not so much how whether you see them; it's when you see them. So, just a little bit too late, you see a figure that you recognize. You can just about see them glance in your direction, but not quick enough that you can do an insight check. So you don't get the insight check, but you do still see the figure of a tall, a very recognizable silhouette of a figure look straight at you, and then, as I say, just too late. You don't quite catch the fullness of their face, but you know they were looking at you, and they stride, not run, but just stride purposefully down a alleyway, the mouth of which is around about 80 foot away. But it was clear that they were looking at you. And
Did I recognize them?
you do.
Sorry,
Barely. You do get it. And it's the elf that was watching Ola Soraka in the soiree. The wood elf.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Eowyn doesn't catch it at all. You barely catch it. She's going down the alleyway. You're heightened. So
I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna head towards her. I'm not even gonna say anything. I think I'm just gonna play with the idea that if she's all in a buzz and she sees us, she's just gonna, without even sort of saying anything, just be like, "Oh, that's that person," and start to walk.
So,
And if they see, they see.
Okay,
So
let's round off.
Are we leaving that? Are we leaving that as a cliffhanger then?
We are, but I'm going to say something quickly before we leave. So as you head towards the alleyway, you realise 80 foot away, especially if she turns the corner and goes into a dead sprint, there's very little chance that you can catch her. But your urchin background kicks off, and you realise there might be a way of heading her off at the pass. And we'll start that next session.
Da, da, da. Oh wait, Oh, okay. No, I get you. Do we need to say that I'm not here next session?
By the way,
oh
Kate
shit!
isn't here next session.
So stay tuned for that adventure.
We leave you this tasty cliffhanger, which will not be resolved for another 2 weeks.
So,
I pre-warned Simon. This is his
Because
fault.
screw you.
Yep.
so all of us just do not notice that Cora goes. So
Oh,
yeah.
You'll notice.
You're just gonna end up in a pub the whole session next time, just drinking, and then we cut to.
Yeah, you'll notice.
I might be there for the last
adventure.
little bit. Yeah,
yeah,
I might be exactly. You go shopping with Aiden, and then maybe the last half an hour I might turn up, and then we can always do something. Then we'll see
So-
how long the show is.
I think I'm okay to say what you are doing, Kate.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah. I mean, if anyone's
yeah.
because Sikion in chat is part of that same show.
Oh, fantastic. So,
He I'm sure would like the advert.
yeah. Well, I don't know what the show is, so I'll pass that over to you. But Kate and Sikion are doing an improv show, which I love improv. So it's a big thing. And break a leg. I hope it's a great night. And if you have details, tell us.
Well, gosh, this is a test. If anyone is in the Cambridge area next Thursday and is happy to miss this too and come back to watch the VOD. Then yes, Stealing the Show has a show every month, I think. Hopefully Stikion will tell me if I'm wrong. So they do a cool heist improv and they bring in guests. So I'm part of the Cambridge Improv Factory, and we're guesting doing some game or a type of improv that there's a group called ASCAT in the States. So we're doing some like a half an hour set, and then Stealing the Show are doing their hour-long heist, which will be very cool. But it's a one-off, so usually I wouldn't miss a Thursday, but yeah, doing it. So it's every second Thursday. There you go. It says it in chat. So.
Thank you, Sikian. Always happy for that, and I don't get to do well. Actually, that's wrong. I was about to say I don't get to do much acting these days, but that's completely untrue. I just do it at a table. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I used to have great fun doing Terry Pratchett plays and things like that. It was great fun, and so yeah, doing improv especially is definitely that high adrenaline. Oh my god, trying to hold it together. So it's my favorite form of acting as well. So good luck with that.
It is good fun.
So cool. Yes, that's as I said. I was trying to get to this part in the session, and I was there racking my brains trying to figure out a way for you guys to get out of the holding, but you did that on your own, thankfully. So Cora is going to dash off in a way that only an urchin can. I'll describe a little bit about that in session, and then when Kate comes back, we will have a chase scene. Okay.
Ooh.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
So thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the guys for sticking around. Seeking as usual. Rattle, thanks very much for sticking with us. You were here right from the beginning to the end. You love us. You really love us. And hello to. I'm just going to check the name if they're still here. Certainly.
Don't forget to use the Geeky Clean 10% off code if you want to go get some stuff.
Yes, definitely.
Because I'm sure every time they see that code, they'll know it's obviously come from us. So
yes,
that's kind of good.
Yep.
There's always the potential of sponsorship later. So
Ag Draco 2. So welcome to you as well. And yes, every time that code is used, we will be seen. So that's going to be sent out to the Chaotix here, and also those who are going to be in some of my other games and things as well. So people who are in the Discord and so forth, anybody who uses it will effectively be pointing back in our direction and shows how much we're signal boosting it. So it doesn't have to be people who are watching the stream. Feel free to share it out, and it's all about the community and the network. It's not about ad revenue or any crap like that. So by all means, share the love. Anyway,
I was gonna say,
I've spoken enough.
Yeah, go on.
Go on.
Go on.
I've talked enough, and I need to go to bed. So
that's fair.
Go again. Like you both spoke over each other.
Yeah, so we do not get any monetary gain from this code. It's all purely sharing love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Cool.
Good night, everybody, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.